Thank you very much. I really appreciate having the opportunity to come down here and talk to everybody today, and appreciate the warm welcome that I've had so far. So today what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually cover our product direction and where we're going. Today we're shipping our 2016 Enterprise Applications version of our entire product portfolio. That also includes our supplier portal, and also includes automation solutions, which you may have just seen in the breakout session this morning. We produce new versions of our software twice a year. We produce a version in March, and we then produce another version in September. Of course, we're right in the middle of March right now, so at the end of the month, we will be introducing a new version, and some of that I will be talking about today. And then you can expect change coming in September of this year, and then again next year, March and September. So today what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about how QAD is embracing the Internet of Things and how important that is to us as manufacturers and what we're doing in order to support that evolution. And of course, you've heard already this morning about our new user experience. We call it the Channel Islands program or the Channel Islands initiative. And I'd like to share some of the exciting areas of improvement that we're doing with our user experience, but also where we stand with our evolution of that. And then I'll end up the session with just a quick update on some of the new functionality that we're going to be producing and releasing later this year. So where are we with the Internet of Things? Well, first of all, we went out and we gathered up a survey of a lot of executives from manufacturing companies, and we asked them some various questions. And everybody came back that if we embrace the Internet of Things, that they feel that they should get at least a 40% increase in productivity from their employees. They also feel that we should get at least a 46% increase of asset utilization if we can truly embrace the Internet of Things and integration. And then cost cutting, they should be able to save anywhere up to 44% on the actual cost it takes to do their manufacturing. But then asking those same executives, how are they doing today? And today only 27% of those say they actually have investments that are going on to truly embrace the Internet of Things. So there's lots of room for growth and improvement. But once they do embrace Internet of Things, they do believe that they will expect 100% benefit from that added integration and the utilization of the information coming out of those machines. So if you look at the consumer world, of course, has been embracing the Internet of Things for quite some time. And in 2016, there was at least 4 billion devices that were out in the world where the Internet of Things and people are integrating to those. And by 2020, we're expecting that to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 billion devices. But if you look at it from a business perspective, we're lagging behind on embracing the Internet of Things or the devices that are prevalent in our manufacturing world. So in 2016, there was only about 2 billion devices that were actually out there connected to your ERP systems or connected to other devices within the Internet. That should grow to about 7 billion by 2020. So there's going to be a huge ramp up of connectivity to the Internet of Things. And if you really look at it from a manufacturing perspective, you could call it the industrial Internet of Things. So it's not just things in your home, things in your personal life, but devices that help you with your business and help you grow productivity within your business. But of course, along with the connection to these devices, you end up getting a lot of information, a lot of data. So in 2013, there was 113 zettabytes of data being collected. So what's a zettabyte? A zettabyte is 10 to the power of 21 as far as the amount of information that gets collected off these devices. By 2018, that's expected to grow to somewhere in the neighborhood of 403,000 zettabytes. So a huge amount of information gets collected. Our challenge is to use that information to make strategic decisions as you help run your manufacturing environments. So what is QAD doing with the Internet of Things? Well, first of all, it's not just about data collection. Of course, we have a world-class data collection capability with our infrastructure, but you have the Internet of Things, lots of different devices. So you have machines, you have everything being automated in your manufacturing environments. All of that information does get collected. You can collect it through barcoding. You can collect it through direct integration to those machines, gathering statistics from the machinery that are running your operations. And of course, that's the physical layer. So you have the physical layer of the actual machineries themselves, but then you have to collect that information, and then you have to be able to analyze it and do something with it. So from a QAD perspective, the backbone of IoT and the connected world for us is automation solutions. You just saw in the breakout a little earlier a nice presentation around automation solutions. And again, it's more than just data collection or label printing. It is truly integration to machinery, and it really helps you manage that information and automate your factories and your processes. Of course, in order to make this successful, you have to have the business services or the APIs to be able to validate information to run your businesses. And so we're exposing those APIs and business services so that when you gather information from the machinery, you can actually utilize that and use the same business logic that's inside the system that you're using with your desktop applications. But then again, because of all of the information that's being delivered, we need to be able to analyze that. And so with our new Channel Islands initiative, we have some embedded analytics capability that will allow you to really analyze the information that you're collecting from these devices and these pieces of machinery. So let me go through a couple of real-life case studies on where we're using the connectivity to devices, to various machinery, in order to truly streamline your day-to-day operations. Let's start with one that's around receipt and the receiving process as we move forward. So the challenge is when you receive your material to the back door, in a typical flow, you would actually do the receiving, inspect it, and take it into inventory. And then from there, you have to decide when and where you might need it. So as we move forward with the automation solutions, you can take your receiving and you can then basically unload the truck and then ultimately scan the material. So you're automating the unloading or the management of the material that's coming through. But ultimately, once you've done your scan, the system can look forward and can determine whether that material is just needed in inventory for future use, or is that information needed down onto the shop floor. So by looking ahead, it can actually recognize that we need that material down in production and not in inventory, so we bypass the move to the inventory and move that directly to the production line that's needing it. Some people will call this cross-docking, where we actually bring it into the one dock and then actually move it straight to where it's required. But this is something that that we've actually received and actually is working in one of our early customers. And so the second example I'd like to talk about is a production case study. So you're producing something that is variable in weight or variable in the amount of material that gets used. And so in the old days, you would just do a standard backflush, and you would just manage that process through standard backflushing. But if you have an environment where you're building something that is actually variable in the amount of material and the weight, we can now integrate that into the machinery and scan that material, put it directly onto the scale, integrate to the scale, determine how much you've actually used, and then from that you can do your backflush with a lot more accurate information, better inventory control, better costing control, and allowing you to manage that production process with a lot more accuracy. And the third case study is a remanufacturing case study. So if you're in the remanufacturing business where you're going to return material and either remanufacture it or analyze what's going wrong with it, of course the first thing you need to do is the material shows up, and through automation solutions you can scan the material and from there understand what should be returned. But now we can integrate that through to a visual signal or a visual indication so that after you've received it, you can then compare what you've received in the box versus what it is that should have been received. So in this example, we were expecting a 3-blade fan to come back, and we ended up getting a 4-blade fan. So the wrong material was sent, and the wrong part was actually sent. So you gave a return authorization for one item, and a different item is actually sent back to you. So in the old days, you would have taken that and you would have just blindly brought that in and started to see what was wrong with it. But now before you actually spend any effort or time on that, you can determine whether or not this is the correct material to do your remanufacturing. So what this does is it gives you a lot better receiving capabilities, a lot better receiving accuracy, and it reduces your cycle time on your remanufacturing flows to make sure that what you're receiving, what you're remanufacturing, is what you're expecting that to happen. So these are just 3 good examples of it's not just data collection and label printing that we're building out with automation solutions, but true integration in your processes and in your flows to make your process and flow of manufacturing, receiving, shipping, remanufacturing much more efficient. So why automation? Well, first of all, it relieves a lot of steps within the flow. So if you're going to do this manually, even if you do have data collection or barcoding, you're still going through, in this case for the receiving, you're going to go through 6 steps in order to actually move the material from the truck out to production. Through automation solutions and looking forward of where you actually need that material, you can eliminate 3 steps of that flow, and it makes your processes much more efficient, and it helps you become that effective enterprise as you continually remove wasteful steps and streamline your processes. So why QAD automation solutions? Well, first of all, it's faster to implement. It is standard product. It's all integrated within the actual enterprise application suite, and it is always kept up to date. So you're not doing customizations. You're using our framework in order to truly streamline your processes. It's flexible. It's not just automating the existing steps, but it's actually combining steps and understanding the flow that you need to do for your business, not just the one that we've delivered from a standard product perspective. So it's very flexible. It gives you the opportunity to truly streamline and what we call bend your processes to fit your requirements. And of course, because it is standard product, it is upgrade friendly. And at the end of the day, it helps you reduce cost, helps you reduce labor, and it helps you become, again, much more effective. So with that, let's move on to user experience. So user experience is extremely important to us in this day and age, especially with the rapid change of the user experience that everybody recognizes from their home life and their daily life. So as you saw out in the expo this morning and was mentioned in some of the earlier sessions, is we have a program called the Channel Islands Program. And it is a multi-year program that we're evolving the Enterprise Edition application to a much cleaner web-based user experience. We actually started this back in 2014. We delivered our first version of Channel Islands in 2015. We called it Anacapa. The reason we've called them Anacapa and Santa Cruz is those are the Channel Islands that are right off the coast of our corporate headquarters in Santa Barbara, California. And so there's 4 islands that are right off the coast. In 2016, we introduced Santa Cruz, and we had 2 versions of Santa Cruz. And what you're seeing out here in the demo area and what you'll see later this afternoon is our Santa Cruz release. But here we are into 2017, and now we're working on Santa Rosa, and you'll expect 2 more versions of Channel Islands coming out this year. And then ultimately next year in 2018, we will come out with our San Miguel version, which will then be an extension. These are all built on top of each other, so that's a cumulative move of the entire application moving forward. And so we're basically working on Santa Rosa today, and that is the new version that is being delivered at the end of this month. Since we're right in the midst of our release and our quality processes for the release, we couldn't bring that to the show today, but it will be available by the middle of April for demonstrations and a deeper understanding of where we are with Santa Rosa. So what were the business drivers around Channel Islands or Santa Rosa? Well, the first one is we wanted to give you real-time insights into your business. So it's no longer just a ERP system that's collecting information. We want to take that information and give you insights into how your business is performing. We want to proactively inform you to make sure that it's, again, if events are happening or things are happening that you want to follow or you need to be aware of, the system will track those and it will alert you to make sure that you're kept informed at all times. And we want you to actively collaborate, not just collaborating amongst the people that are working next to you in the office, but allowing the system to collaborate to anybody inside and possibly outside of your business, so that you can collaborate to your managers, you can collaborate to your suppliers or to your customers, and through good collaboration, you can make sure that there's lots of communication going on. And of course, ultimately, you need to make timely decisions. So you take this information, and we're giving you the ability to make those decisions through mobile devices and through wherever it is that you are for the day. You're not tied to your desk. You can actually take advantage of the internet, take advantage of the devices that everybody's carrying around with them today. So what are the outcomes as we introduce Santa Rosa? Well, first of all, we're giving executive visibility. I saw in the booth out there this morning, you were getting shown the actionable insights. So information that is being served up of all of this rich information. That is now available to all your executives, all your management, so that they can actually have executive visibility of what it is that's going on in your business. But of course, we also want to have access to information. So it's no longer just the person who's doing the entry of orders or entry of information that has access to that information. We're exposing the entire application out to anybody on the web that has access, whether it's through a PC or whether it's through a tablet, and some of that information is being presented to you on your phone. So you can, again, have that information available to you as you're doing your day-to-day jobs. But then ultimately, it's about making decisions. The information doesn't do you as much good if you're not able to use that to actually make decisions to help drive and run your business. So basically, all of that is now coming with Santa Rosa 1, and ultimately you'll see that continually growing through this year and into next year. So we're focused on the user. So we started off with, we wanted to make sure we were focused on the user. So it is all about the user experience, but it's about the roles that those people are playing, what they're doing in their daily jobs. Their businesses or their needs are different first thing in the morning versus in the middle of the day versus at night when they're at home. So basically, we're focused on the user. It's got to be intuitive. So we want the system to be self-learning so we can easily roll it out to your organizations without having to go through very deep learning experiences. But at the same time, we want you to have UI freedom. So we're not going to tie you into just one UI. We're expecting the user experience or the UI to continually change. It's on a very rapid growth as far as technology, and the user experience that we know today will more than likely be different in the near future, and we're expecting that to happen as well. And as Carter mentioned this morning, we want to make sure that you can stay up to date without having to upgrade the entire application, so that we can update just the pieces that you need, the new functionality, or that you want to take advantage of some new requirements on a global basis. So with our March 2017 release, so we're down into our March release here, we're introducing 40 focused roles so that you can actually give information to 40 different roles within your application. It crosses the entire business suite that you have. So all of that information is available. We've added in inherent collaboration capability. So as Carter went through our platform, one of the most important things around the foundation areas was to make sure these services were available to everybody using the system. Collaboration is a major component of that. Every function has collaboration inherently built in. It allows you to then communicate within your organization. It tracks changes. It allows you to follow specific tasks that you want to see. It's all delivered to you in your inbox, whether that's on your phone, whether that's on your tablet, or whether that's on the desktop itself. It also allows you to send information via email. So through the email, you'll have a direct link that allows you to link back into the application and automatically take you to exactly where you need to be in order to make those decisions. Collaboration for us is a huge component of our foundation, and it is something that will really make you more productive when you start to use and see Channel Islands. So we've got 50 business functions that we're introducing as of Santa Rosa 1. So all of these business functions are available in support of those roles. We've got over 1,900 browsers that are available to get given out to your organization. All of these browsers are accessible over the web, very secure over the web, and you can present that information to anybody within your company. So whether that's on your tablet or on your desktop, all that information is at your fingertips via a nice, secure web browser. And we have all of the reports available. So 450 reports are now available that, again, you can surface those up and run those anywhere that you have internet connectivity. We can also have those reports scheduled and sent to the inbox of somebody else, so we can make sure that it actually shows up, and those reports can show up on your phone, and somebody can actually see those reports on their phone whenever they need to access that information. So extremely rich, extremely deep functionality that's available today with Santa Rosa 1. And with that comes our action centers. And so our action centers are the new embedded analytics that we've actually put into our Channel Islands capability. As we introduced it today, we have 3 action centers that we've introduced. So one for the chief financial officer, one for the purchasing manager, and one for the customer service manager. Each of these action centers has upward of 6 to 8 KPIs that come out of the box ready to go for your organization. But as we move forward, we're going to continually expand this so that you can have as many KPIs as your company needs in order to run your day-to-day business. Extremely powerful. Of course, it is mobile, so you can run these action centers on your tablet, you can run these action centers on your phone, and again, giving that manager of your organization access to the key information that they need to make decisions and help run their business. And so these are all available to you out of the box. And then, of course, if you need to do approvals, you have approvals that will come through your inbox, but those will also be surfaced through your email. And they, again, are available on your phone or available on your tablet so that while you're on the road or while you're away from your office, you can stay in tune with what's going on at home in the business, and you can see the notifications, but at the same time, make those approvals that you need to. As we enter Santa Rosa 1, we have 3 levels of approvals that are available. We have purchase requisitions that are you can approve. You have purchase orders, which is new, that you can approve. We have accounts payable vouchering that you can approve, and accounts payable invoice payments that you can approve. So we can make sure that you're getting the appropriate approvals on top of these key components. And as we move forward with Channel Islands, you'll see a lot more capability in this approval process. So agility for the knowledge worker. So basically what we've done is we've taken the rich functionality that we have today and we're streamlining that into a web-based application. It's a single form that allows you to manage and use the system the way you want to, and not just top-down the way the system was designed in the past. It's easy for everybody to navigate, so hopefully it's very familiar. It looks just like a web browser that you're used to. The way you navigate, shortcut keys and everything are consistent across the application. But at the same time, you can personalize it. We don't expect it to be just the way we've delivered it, so you can personalize the look and feel. You can hide fields, rearrange fields, things like that, so that you can have different views, different flows of how the system should operate by role within your organization. So one role might have a very complex flow through the system, and one role could have a very simplistic flow through the system. Again, you tailor that to fit the business needs that you have, not the business needs that we deliver to you out of the box. And it is intuitive, so it should reduce time for onboarding new employees. So in Santa Rosa 1, in the sales area, so what we've done is we've exposed all of the information that a sales rep, whether that's a sales rep inside your company or a sales rep outside of your company, would need to interact with your customers. We've added in our CRM capability that we have today into Channel Islands. So all the rich information that's in our CRM tables and CRM module are now available within Channel Islands. If you're not using our CRM product and you're using something like Salesforce, then you can integrate that data into our CRM tables and you can still have that rich information exposed to everybody in your company without having to go get expensive Salesforce licenses. From there, if the person is mobile, then they can actually create a sales quote and release that sales quote through the flow. Once it's been released, and at that point, the internal sales admin person can actually create the sales order, can initiate a pick list, can confirm the shipment, can actually initiate the invoice, everything within that flow of a customer service representative. If we move on to requests and service, today, if you have our SSM module, or our service module, you would have a call capability where you could take in calls and decide what somebody's calling about. We're revamping that to just a pure action request. Usually when somebody calls in, you're not quite sure what they're calling for, so you don't know exactly where to go within the system in order to actually gather that information. We've introduced something new called an action request. And an action request is a very simplistic view of gathering all the information associated to somebody bringing a request into your system. This could come in through a telephone, it could come in through your email. However you get it, you can bring that information in. Once you've put it into the action request, then you can make a decision. You can determine who the person that's calling. Is it a new person, a lead? Is it a customer? Is it a supplier? Is it somebody that wants to have, needs to have some repair or service work done? And at that point, you can, through the collaboration, you can assign that to somebody else to fulfill the task, or you can create a new service order, sales quote, sales order, however you need to fulfill that task. So again, action requests will become a key component of the collaboration and the ability to communicate throughout the system. And in the supply chain area, we have taken our requisitioning process, whether you're using requisitions in GRS or whether you're using requisitions with EAM, we've combined that into one single requisitioning system that's available to everybody in your company. So no longer do you have to get onto your .NET environment to actually enter requisitions. You can do that anywhere on the web. Once you've done that, it goes through the approval process and then ultimately gets turned into a purchase order. But what we've added to this process is we've added an approved vendor list capability, something extremely important to our life sciences customers, that now you can have who are you approved to truly buy material from, what items are approved for those vendors so that you can make sure that you're buying the right material from the right suppliers. So this is all built into the flow, and we have this new approved vendor list capability throughout the purchasing flow. So again, a nice enhancement. The other side of this is if you're doing purchasing, if it's a brand new request, you can create that new supplier through the Channel Islands new user interface. Or if you're using Supplier Portal, this information will automatically be sent to the Supplier Portal, and we'll see a transformation of the Supplier Portal into our Channel Islands user experience. The first version of that will be available this March along with Santa Rosa 1. So how do we make this possible? Well, first of all, it's a world-class architecture. So we've basically lifted up the user interface, the integration, the analytics, and the collaboration into its own services that allow us to manage the system. It's all built around security, and then, of course, it's all built around the business services that make this happen. So with Santa Rosa 1, we have over 1,800 business services that are now available to actually validate what's going on within the system. As Carter showed you this morning with our new platform capability, these would be inside of the base app, and those are all the business services. So we not only do we have master data, customers, and suppliers, we have 1,875 business interfaces or APIs that allow you to validate everything that's going on in your system. We're enabling the Internet of Things. So again, back to the Internet of Things discussion. We've opened the whole thing up with these APIs or these business services. Now you can call those from machines, and you can make sure that you're validating the system correctly. We're organized into modules or apps. So again, we're getting away from one big release into smaller releases of modules or apps. And so today, if we're releasing 2016, we've always had modularity in our enterprise financials. So you can get a new version of enterprise financials that's on an older version of the enterprise edition. But with Channel Islands, we're going to expand that across the other areas of the product. So if you want to keep your manufacturing stable, but you'd like to take advantage of something in purchasing or take advantage of something inside of the customer area, you can now take those apps or those modules and actually update those independent. This should allow you to manage your needs on a much more granular level in order to stay current at all times. And I said earlier we have UI freedom, so we do have the ability to run whichever UI you prefer. So today we have our side-by-side. You can run the .NET user interface, you can run the web-based user interface, you can run it on the web-based user interface on a tablet. It's all going to basically run the same business logic so that you can have side-by-side and you don't have to convert your entire organization all at the same time. So we've done this through data-driven and standard metaphors. So as I said before, as the user experience and the technology evolves, we will be able to make those changes much easier because we're taking these metaphors and we're driving those through data, not by coding. So this allows us to be very flexible and very easy to keep abreast of where we're going. And so you'll see a lot more of this as we move forward. And because of the data-drivenness to this is what allows us to have the extension layers in the platform that Carter showed in his session this morning. And analytics. We talk about actionable insights and giving information to management. So what we've done is we've embedded in the application an analytics product that is one of the leading analytics products within the software business. This comes free of charge through your upgrade, so it's all built into the application, so there's no additional charge for you to get embedded analytics inside of Channel Islands. And it does give you real-time data and real-time decision-making capabilities of your application. But of course, as we put this out on the web, we need to be very careful that we have a very secure environment. And so security is extremely important to us, especially since we're pushing more and more, asking more and more people to make that decision to go to the cloud. We want to make sure that your systems are extremely secure. So we have basically every API call or every business service goes through a security layer and making sure that it's all secure, because we're going to be calling these services from many different applications, from the Internet of Things, from extended apps, and so on. We've embedded single sign-on, so if you're having a single sign-on capability within your organization, you can now leverage this and have everything running through LDAP or Active Directory and so on. Everything is all embedded in the application. But it wasn't good enough that we just did this and felt comfortable. We wanted to make sure that truly the application was secure. So we hired an outside firm to come in and verify and scan all of our source code to make sure that there was no leaks or there was no ways people could hack into our source code. We went with a company called Veracode, and Veracode went through our entire application. Actually, they go through it on a monthly basis. And we scored 99 out of 100 on the actual security of the application we're delivering, the code we're developing. But that wasn't enough. We had to just make sure that if you are actually having the system out on the web exposed to people on the outside, we wanted to make sure nobody could penetrate into our software. If you're in the IT side of the business, you're probably always being attacked by viruses and people phishing into your businesses. So what we did is we, again, hired a second outside company called Anisian, and we stood up our environment, and then they tried to penetrate this over a 3-month period, and they were not able to penetrate our application. So we feel very comfortable that the code is safe, the environment is safe, and we can expose our application to our devices, to the web, and do that with confidence. And so the platform. So Carter mentioned this morning about our enterprise platform that we're under development with. But it really does take up a lot of different forms. The first thing we needed, of course, was a mobile platform to make sure that we could extend the application to the mobile devices. We wanted an analytics platform so that we could actually have that information exposed to your organization so you can make decisions. We needed to make sure we integrated to the Internet of Things and through automation. So we've added the business services, the security, and the connectivity to the devices. But then we need to go to the next level, which is the UX personalization. And then, as Carter mentioned earlier, ultimately down to creating your own applications using our services or our platform as we drive that forward. And so let's look just real quickly at the platform personalization. And so we have different ways that you can personalize. First of all, you can personalize the look and feel of the application by creating stored views or custom views that actually run the way you want the system to operate. So that's phase one. That's something you probably have today if you're using our .NET user interface, that now this is, of course, rendered inside a web browser. But then as Carter mentioned this morning, the next is to actually be able to add fields and extend the business logic at the UI layer. And so this is our capability to actually add those fields to the screen from an administrator's perspective and then put validation across those new fields and then have that flow through the entire process. This new extension layer is available in our Santa Rosa 1 release that's coming out at the end of the month. So you'll see the evolution of our platform with the UI extensions this release. The next release, it will be the business layer extensions, and then we'll round that out in the March timeframe of next year to have the complete platform available for you to take advantage of channel islands and extending our application to fit those needs that Carter mentioned earlier that may not have fit out of the box, but you need in order to be successful with your ERP implementation. And so we talked about the Internet of Things. We talked about the user experience. But let's talk just a little bit here about some new functionality that's coming along the way here very shortly. So the first one is manufacturing. Of course, we focus on manufacturers. We focus on our 6 vertical industries. And as Carter works through that, we're actually extending that down to some sub-verticals within our major verticals. But we need to focus on manufacturing. We've always had extremely good mixed mode manufacturing within the application. What we're doing is in this release coming up is we're streamlining that process to allow you to take advantage of all of our mixed mode manufacturing all at the same time. We're making sure it's flexible so that you can make the decisions that you need on how you do manufacturing. Do I do manufacturing through work orders? Do I do it through repetitive? Do I do it through advanced repetitive? Do I want to have line-side replenishment? Do I want to pull pick lists and have the material delivered through pick lists? Those types of decisions, you can decide how you want to mix and match those throughout your manufacturing flows. And of course, it needs to be responsive. So as things change, if you're doing a repetitive flow, but you need to make a special order for somebody, you can stop your repetitive flow. You can make that special order and then start your repetitive flow up again, and it's as though nothing has happened. So again, giving you that flexibility to make adjustments as the business requirements adjust. And then, of course, automation. So automation to the MES layer, automation to the devices, making sure that we can leverage the machinery you have and not have our system sitting on top of that, but really leveraging that rich information. And, of course, at the same time, we have to be compliant. So we want to make sure that we look at quality, we understand the information that's coming from a quality perspective, and we handle all of your compliance regulations. And revenue recognition. So there's a new set of accounting standards that are coming out on a worldwide basis. And so with that, we needed to come up with a new revenue recognition module. All public companies need to adhere to the new revenue recognition modules by December of 2017. So as of this March, we are coming out with a brand new revenue recognition module that we'll be introducing to help you with your evolution of how you track revenue on a GAAP basis or an accounting standards basis, whether you're using IFRS or you're using the U.S. accounting standards. It's changing the way you can recognize revenue. It's not just about invoicing and then recognizing. You have to understand if there's any sort of performance obligation. And then the last thing is trade activity management. So trade activity management is the evolution of our trade and promotions management product. And so we have, that is moving now into our generally available status, and this is something that we've have a couple of early adopters here in this region, and we've been working very closely with those customers. So if you need to deal with trade activity, trade promotions, trade planning, then we have a new module that's being introduced this year around trade activity management. And so with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your time, and we'll open it up for any sort of questions.